Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this fifth talk, we will look at the second paragraph of the first part of our dua, which immediately follows the Suratul Fatiha. And this goes, Sajda wajhi ilayka wa tawakkaltu alayka minka quwwati wa anta ismati Ya Rabbal Alameen. The very first word, sajda, which means to prostrate. And to prostrate what? Wajh. Wajh means face. To prostrate our face to God. The meaning of this is that in our face is our mind, our brain, and we make our intention, we give our attention through our mind or our brain. So when we say Sajda wajhi ilayka, we are saying that we are turning our face, our attention, and our intentions towards God with submission and humility. This word sajda, which also comes at the end of every part of the dua when we say laka sujudi wa ta'ati, should be understood very clearly that here we are expected to be submissive in the sense that we obey the Prophet and the Imam of the time, because ours is a partial, imperfect intellect and theirs is the perfect divine intellect. And so our submission is to help us to perfect our intellect. There is nothing debasing or humiliating about submission. And it is because of this that the Holy Quran in Surah 96, which is the clot or al-alaq, says in the last verse, which is Surah 96 ayat 19, wasjud waqtarib, which means prostrate yourself and come closer. So through this prostration of submission, of obedience with humility, we come closer to the light of God. And even the actual action where we bend our heads and inshallah we bend our heads right down to the floor and touch the floor with our foreheads, this is a symbol of obedience to the light of God, who is representing, who is the mazhar of the NOOR of God on earth. The next phrase, وَتَوَكَّلْتُ عَلَيْكَ. Tawakkaltu means, and I trust in you. And I trust in you. The word tawakkaltu comes from the word wakil in Arabic, and wakil means advocate, meaning that we entrust all our matters to God because He is the all-powerful and He is our best advocate. He will do for us that which is best for us, and there are many things which are beyond our powers, so ultimately we have to leave it to God's power, and we entrust all such matters to God. Min ka quwwati, from you is my strength. This shows that everything we do, whether physically or spiritually, is through all the means, all the blessings that God has granted us. And wa anta ismati, you are my protection and my refuge. Allah is our protection, and He is the one in whom we find refuge or security or peace. And the final phrase is Ya Rabbal Alameen, which the meaning of which we have discussed in very great detail already. But here it is important to point out that the grammatical construction has changed because we are invoking, we are calling on Ya, O, the Lord of the worlds, the personal worlds. So when we put Ya in front of Rabb, it changes its grammatical structure, and therefore it is not Rabbil here as it is in the Suratul Fatiha, but it is Ya Rabbal Alameen. It is also important to point out here that in the Arabic language there are many double consonants, as there is here, Rabbal Alameen. And then the final paragraph of our dua, which is also supplicatory, which is a prayer, not a Quranic ayat or a Quranic surah, is Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin al-Mustafa wa ala Aliyin al-Murtaza wa alal a'immatil atahar wa ala hujjatil amri sahibiz zamani wal asri imamin al-hadiril mawjud Maulana Shah Karimil Hussaini Allahumma laka sujudi wa ta'ati. This paragraph is actually our salawat, but it is in a longer version. And for this, I want to actually read out an article which I had written a long time ago for the Tariqa Board of United Kingdom, and it was read out during a Jamaati Satada. But before I come to that, I want to just pick up the names of our Prophet and of Maulana Ali. O Allah, Allahumma, O Allah, send blessings through Muhammad the Chosen. In its exoteric form, people think that we are asking God to send blessings on Prophet Muhammad and on Hazrat Ali and on the Imams. But this is the exoteric way of thinking. It is not the batini or the esoteric thinking, and perhaps when I read the article and record it, you will realize why we are saying that. But another reason for that is that the Prophet himself in Surah 21, ayat 107, is called Rahmatal lil Alameen. Wama, excuse me one second. The ayat which I was looking for in Surah 21, 107 reads, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We sent you, Muhammad, not save as a mercy for the peoples, for the worlds. So here we have the same argument that the Prophet had come for the human worlds, the human beings. He had come to guide them. And not only did he guide them, but he left a source of guidance through his progeny for the world to come, for the human beings to come. And so if the Prophet himself is the mercy for all peoples, then surely he doesn't need the blessings of his followers. So it's important to keep the esoteric meaning of the salawat in mind. But before I come to that article, I want to mention the name and the title of the Holy Prophet. Muhammadin al-Mustafa, Muhammad the Chosen. What is this related to? This is related to Surah 3, ayah 33 and 34, which goes, Inna Allah hastafa. This word, hastafa. Indeed, God chose. And the rest of the ayat goes on that God chose Adam and Noah and the family of Abraham and the family of Imran above all beings. Again, there is the word alal alameen, which means that God had chosen, selected all these prophets and their progeny from amongst the human beings. And then the final verse of this Surah 3, ayat 33-34 is, they are descendants one from the other, and Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. So Prophet Muhammad's title, Mustafa, is related to this word Hastafa in this ayat, and it shows that the Prophet was chosen by God to be the guide in his time. So now we go on to the next name, which is the name of Mawla Ali, and Mawla Ali is Murtaza, which is Ali the favorite, and the Imams are Atahar, meaning they are pure, the Imams are pure, and then upon the proof of Amr, of command, who is the Sahib of the Zaman, who is the master of the time, and Asr. Here we have two things, that the Imam of the time is not only the master, the lord of the physical time, but he is also the lord of the spiritual time. And he is the Imam who is present, Hazir, and Mawjud, and living. And he is Maulana Shah Karim al-Husseini, Shah Karim Mil-Husseini, and we prostrate meaning we obey the Imam, because by obeying the Imam we obey Hazrat Ali, by obeying Hazrat Ali we obey the Prophet, and by obeying all of them we obey Allah. And prostration, obedience, is that which brings us closer to the light of God. I am now going to just read out this article which I mentioned earlier, and I had given it the title at that time, Salawat represents the eternal circle of blessings. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, that is, O Allah, send blessings upon Muhammad and the progeny of Muhammad, is not only of necessity a repeated prayer in our Jamaat, but it is also a much favored tasbih recited by Ismailis everywhere. What is the Quranic basis for the salawat? In Surah 33 of the Holy Quran, there are two separate ayats which particularly deserve to be studied carefully. Ayat 43 says, He, Allah, it is who blesses you, and His angels bless you, so that He may bring you out of darkness into the light, and Allah is merciful to the believers. In other words, Allah sends salawat or blessings on the believers, and so also His angels, so that the darkness of evil, ignorance, disbelief, etc. can be taken, removed from us, and to bring us to the light of guidance, belief, and good. Later on in ayat 56 of the same chapter, chapter 33, it is stated, Indeed, Allah and His angels bless the Prophet. O you who believe, ask blessings on him and submit to him as ought to be submitted. These two ayats show that Allah and His angels send blessings on the Prophet and the believers. And the believers in turn are asked to send blessings on the Holy Prophet. The intellectual challenge posed by these ayats is to reflect on the rank, on the degree of the blessings sent by Allah and His angels and those sent by the believers or mu'mins on the Prophet. It is obvious that the salawat sent by Allah and His angels on the Prophet is in the form of the exalted mission of the Holy Prophet to lead people out of the darkness of disbelief, ignorance, and evil to the light of guidance and belief. On the other hand, when believers are asked to send salawat on the Prophet, it is in the form of accepting and submitting to the light of guidance and showing gratitude for it. Thus, the recitation of salawat becomes an eternal circle of blessings for mu'mins, in that they are sure that Allah always answers their prayer for light and guidance in the presence of the progeny of the Holy Prophet. Perhaps if I add one or two more sentences here, it is that the blessing sent by God and his angels on the Prophet is in the form of giving the Prophet that light with which to guide us human beings. And when we human beings are being asked to send salawat or blessings on the Prophet, it is not that we are sending blessings on the Prophet, but we are actually praying that the Prophet should take us out of ignorance and negligence and disbelief and give us the light which Allah has given him, so that we are guided on the right path. Salawat is such an important prayer for us that it is recited every time we say the holy names of the Prophet or our Imams. So whenever the name of the Imam or the Prophet is mentioned, we recite salawat. And it is a prayer, and this prayer is that, "O God, send blessings on us. Send on us the blessing of guidance. Send on us the blessing of hidayat, of noor, of direction, so that we can follow the farmans, the guidance of the Prophet and the Imams." We recite salawat at the beginning and end of the recitation of farmans and talikas. Salawat is recited during the Chandrat Majlis every month. Our 48th Imam, Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah Salawatullahi Alayhi, recommended the Jamaat to come together to pray on the night of Chandrat and to do special recitation of salawat. That is, to recite more and more salawat. We recite many salawat tasbihs during our funeral ceremonies. Every day, 3 times a day, in the last paragraph of the first part of our dua, we recite the salawat in all its detail by saying, "O Allah, send blessings through Muhammad the chosen, through Ali the favorite, through the Imams the pure, and through the proof of your command, the Lord of the time and age, the present Imam, Maulana Shah Karim al-Husseini." We say this with the understanding that we are beseeching Allah to help us to remain the obedient followers of the Prophet and his descendants, the Imams, and to never deviate from the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Ya Ali Madad.